Hello to everybody out there. Welcome to Something Fell number 18, a YouTube show about Cerebus the aardvark and his creator Dave Sim. I'm Colin Blanchette. I'm here with Carl Stevens.
Hello.
Hi, Carl. And before we get talking about Cerebus 18, Carl, why don't you show off your new book, which is coming soon?
Well, Pepper. It's about my cat Pepper, and it's a sequel to my previous book, Penny. And Pepper is about this. So, Penny was just Pepper. I mean, sorry, Penny was just about Penny and her existential angst about being trapped in our apartment all day, but it was like a gag book. So the joke with Pepper is that Penny wakes up and realizes that there's another cat living with her the whole time named Pepper. And then Penny goes on to discover who this Pepper really is. And it turns out that she can do all this magical stuff. And then it leads to some kind of crazy, surreal, psychedelic passages. And then at the end, it becomes, well, I won't spoil it for you, but it is a long narrative. And it's not just a series of gag issues. So I'm very excited. It comes out this October from June Books.
Very nice. For my part, I make a zine about comics called Canon. This is the latest issue 7.
Eisner nominated.
Eisner nominated. Thank you, Carl, for mentioning. Yes, I nominated for an Eisner somehow, some way. All of our issues are available at canoncomiczine.com. I also still have a Big Cartel store, canonzine.bigcartel.com, which has a couple of the newer issues, but the website has everything. And interviews. This one has an interview with Rich Tommaso, Dustin Holland, Brian Canini, and we have a big issue number 8 that we're working on now. So
can't wait.
Me too. All right, let's talk about Cerebus.
Do it.
I'm just gonna make myself big for a quick second to show the cover, since the cover on the screen is a little tiny.
Yeah.
Cerebus number 18.
Right.
Really beautiful cover.
It is. Yeah, it's kind of a first for Dave with the multi-panels of all the characters that are in this issue. To me, I love that silhouette in the top left, the blue, reverse silhouette. Actually, this kind of reminds me of Steranko a little bit, but maybe it's just the wordless nature of it. But it also, foreshadows a lot of the later issues, and I feel like he did this in High Society. So a couple years from now, I think he'll do more of this type of cover that's multi-panel.
Yeah, it feels it's just much more designy and sophisticated than what he's done before. And like you said, in the near future, all of his covers will look great. Just really discrete units of design and art. And eventually, there's an ad that comes out for Cerebus, which utilizes, I believe, a couple of the covers kind of melded together, and it says Cerebus, a comic like no other. It's him and Astoria, who we haven't been introduced to yet, but it's such a great ad and such a great poster. Do
you have the poster?
What's that?
Do you have the poster?
I sure do. It's great. And I feel like covers like this really sort of are the canary in the coal mine of what's coming for how good his covers get. I mean, I think this is a great cover, but I mean, they just get increasingly better over the years. And it really was a comic like no other, not just because it was about an aardvark, but because he was really putting so much attention and detail to this kind of stuff. He was melding the personal vision that the alternative comics would have, but also with like the Steranko design vibe. Yeah, when you said Steranko, it was like, oh, of course. I didn't even, didn't occur to me, but you're right.
Yeah, right. It's his like sense of design. I mean, we always say this, but Dave is very much a creature of the comics industry, and especially the comics industry of like the 70s, like when he was coming of age, which I guess we all are,
Sure.
Like we all kind of like that's part of comics, is like that nostalgia of like when you first discovered them. I mean, we're stuck in the 90s, I'm sure, like a lot of ways.
The good 90s.
Yeah, the good night, of course. But also like one more note, like issue 17, he has like a limited like color palette on the cover where he's just using like the primaries, just the reds, yellows, and blues, and then I like that little touch of orange, in the hair of Lord Julius's assistant, and also just like the use of like the white on the page, like the negative space, that's he like did that effectively last issue too, and I think it seems like it's good for a commercial aspect too, because I'm sure like jumped out on the stands.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been more elegant, right, than almost anything that would have been July of 1980. I mean, that's a pretty ugly period for mainstream comics. So you put this up against, not even like the comics, they might have been well drawn or well made, but just the actual production of the comics was just ugly, and the paper was like the worst it ever was. And so you put this up against like Micronauts or Action Comics, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, what's this thing that looks like it's for at least a teenager?
yeah, and that's smart. I mean, like that's what makes Dave smart. He's really just thinking about how do I stand out, like how do I carve my own niche, and that really becomes like 100% what his aesthetic is, being independent from everyone else, for better or worse.
Yeah. Here's the full cover, which I didn't even know existed beyond that. For
Okay.
God damn it. Anyway, great cover. You can all see it now, much better. Yeah. Yeah, it's really sharp. Not even the fact that he's using these images from inside the comic, but yeah, his coloring choices. You pointed out the orange highlights here in the hair. I really love the baby blue on this guy's robes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting better. He's getting way better at using color, especially considering he doesn't get to do it very often. So.
Yeah. No, it's like literally just the covers. So.
All right. Well, we got a note from the publisher here.
All right, we'll jump right in. Let's see. In May, Mike Friedrich came up to Toronto from New York on a business trip for Marvel. He works there now, When he phoned Dave and I about going out for dinner while he was here, it seemed a strange coincidence. For at that time, Dave was working on issue 18, which would tie Cerebus with Mike's Star Reach, with Mike's Star Reach as the longest running alternative comic. It feels like we've come quite a ways since issue 1. With this issue, I feel that Dave has begun to give a clearer picture of individual outlook of the book. The humor is continuous, and Cerebus proves once again that a sword alone does not a conqueror make. Personally, I have always preferred a barbed tongue to a pointy stick. Now that Cerebus is monthly, Dave has been spending an enormous amount of time in his studio. He works from 1 in the afternoon until 7, comes home for dinner, and 1 hour relaxing, then back to the studio until 3 in the morning. I've always felt that your living environment is where you spend the most time, obviously the studio, so we have moved it to a nicer location. I must say that he's quite pleased with the new studio, and he can't wait to move into it. Now he gets to look at people on the street instead of on rooftops. It takes so little to make an artist happy. And speaking of making Dave happy, number one on his list is doing this book, so get to it and read it. I'll see you next issue. Wow. Yeah, that third paragraph.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, there's this great book by this writer named Mason Curry, who it's called I forget the title, but it's about artists and like their working habits,
Mm.
and it's like everyone from you know uh, like Goethe to you know like Philip Roth or something, just
Sure.
like writers and like musicians and artists, and so it's it just gives like their I think it's called Daily Rituals. That's right.
Mm.
So this is interesting, just to know what Dave's like daily ritual was. So he has like 2 working sessions, 1 to 7, then break, and then probably from 9 or 10 to 3. So
Yeah.
so that's about like it's like a 12-hour day.
Yeah. It's yeah, one that's
12-hour
long,
workday. Yeah.
but also him working so late. I wonder if he do you think he kept that up later on, or do you think as he got older he normalized into a more 9 to 5?
I think he did. I mean, from like what I remember, like reading it, like in the later like Gerhard days, like he, like they would just keep regular office hours.
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
Makes sense.
burning the midnight oil as much.
Yeah, seems like that's a young man's game.
Oh yeah, 100%.
For most people. I mean, some people keep those hours forever, but
Yeah,
most people don't.
I mean, if I was like a single guy,
Mm-hmm.
I would keep those hours.
Yeah,
I think. Although that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, I like keeping Alex's hours and being, basically 9 to 5.
Yeah, I've actually, I'm not this extreme. I'm not up until 3 in the morning, and let's face it, if he's working until 3 in the morning, he's probably up later, right?
Yeah. True.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I usually push it till about midnight, just to have some kind of working time when it's quiet at night, But
Yeah, that is the
there's
ideal work. I like working when everyone's asleep.
Yeah. There's something to be said though for and something you and I have talked about. Maybe we haven't talked about as much on the show, but that Sim becomes such a professional that the regularity and the sort of he embraces the drone of just putting out an issue every month for all these years, and switching to working hours that are more kind of conducive to professionalism. I mean, obviously if you're doing business with other people, being around at the same time helps,
Especially back in pre-internet days, because
Yes.
sure to like be on the phone for talking to distributors or whatever, like a million little things you had to do. So it makes sense. You're right. That's a good point.
All right, let's jump into it.
It's a pretty good opening page.
Yeah.
I wish the title went across like the whole top. I don't know. It's a weird crop with that building.
Yeah, runs into it.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a new character, right?
Yes. Yeah, and he has this strange outfit on.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell in the first page very well, but in the second page, it's actually a cutout, so you can see his chest hair.
Yeah.
Little odd.
Right. Yeah. What is that?
Yeah, it kind of made me wonder what the model was for this. If it was like Sean Connery and what's that movie, Zardoz or whatever, where
yeah, I never saw that.
he's practically wearing underwear and
right.
But yeah, I enjoyed this issue, but I will say one of the problems I had with it is that excuse me, the dialect makes it a little harder to read. And these like the city name is Fluroc. You don't really know that. I mean, you do know it, but it isn't super obvious. He hasn't been
Yeah.
talking about Fluroc really in past issues very much. And, so this guy's sort of out of nowhere amongst all these dead people, and he's looking for Cerebus. And, so these kind of like German sounding names all kind of blend together a little bit.
Right.
I've already kind of forgotten the guys from last issue, even though they do show up here.
Yeah. It's true, and you're probably right that it does have something to do with the like weird phonetics, that he's trying to write accents, but again, like that becomes like I feel like he gets better at that.
Yeah. I'm not even saying he's bad at it here. It just sometimes I was like, okay, I'm having to wade through all of this dialect. But he is good at it. He's way better than someone like Chris Claremont, who was another guy who famously sort of wrote in dialect all the time, and I think just irritated people doing it.
Right. Yeah. Like Nightcrawler comes to mind.
Yeah. There you go. This is you almost wonder if this is a sort of response to that.
It could be, right. Yeah, because this is when those Byrne Claremont X-Men were
the hottest thing going, right? That's a good pull. I didn't even think. I was thinking about every character Claremont had. He loved to write an accent. He loved to have Rogue be unreadable with her southern accent. So
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Nightcrawler, he might be the one he's pulling from here. But Sim does it so much better, and it's funny when he does it.
And it's funny. Yeah, that's always the main difference. Is that Sim is funny.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish that that's what a lot of those writers from the time like took from him. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if they could have though. I think he has some special sauce that these other guys aren't really capable of.
Yeah, no, it's true. That's a good point.
So this guy here, he's looking for Cerebus, and he comes upon Cerebus, and so they've conquered the city. The guys that Cerebus linked up with last issue,
right?
These barbarians, they've conquered this city. One of Lord Julius's, territories, I guess. This other city,
right.
They've slaughtered everybody. The whole place just full of dead people. As he has people just laying on the ground here,
right.
And he's talking about the stench in the air. And Cerebus is looking for certain books, which seems odd, given what we know about the character.
Right. Well, I think like since his interaction with Julius, he's broadened his way of thinking about, how to defeat your enemy.
Yeah.
So he's thinking like more about magic, I guess now, or like deflection as opposed to the sword.
Sure.
Right.
So this guy,
like Julius's influence.
That's a very good point. That it's not all just about swinging a sword and killing people. It's he must know that even though he thinks Julius is
like
a wacko, that part of it's an act, right? The guy didn't get to be in charge and maintain control by being a lunatic. He's very crafty.
Yes.
So he doesn't really say what he's looking for yet. And this guy here is looking for Cerebus, and he's saying "Hail Strom," and that leads Cerebus to ask, "What do you know about Strom, Grouse?" A couple of nice panels here of Cerebus with this lighting.
Yeah, that's something we talked about last issue too. Like, and that's something that I enjoy is the way that he's he's not just making Cerebus flat. He's leaving those white areas to show how the light's like hitting his form.
Yeah, they look really really nice.
And he's back using that tone again. The like on the what's his name? Like on the character with the thing on his chest.
I think Grouse is his name.
Yeah, Grouse. Yeah, sorry, my brain is fried.
That's fine. I can't remember at halftime either. He just said it in the last page.
Grouse, which is like a funny, double entendre to
Sure.
grousing.
Mm-hmm.
So right, but like he hasn't used like that tone, that like, dot, that like stippling tone.
Mm-hmm.
In a few issues. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, so Cerebus he's basically just getting exposition by dialogue, right? He's asking him, what do you think about is it Strom? I've already forgotten. Strom. And he asks him, what about Gudra? And so Gudra, he starts telling him about Gudra and how and to be honest, I'm not really that interested in this stuff, but
yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's hard to remember all the cosmology here that Sim is setting up.
Right.
Basically, though, these barbarians think they have this sort of god of thunder on their side that they're following, and Gudra is he's the voice of this god, so that he's leading them. He's kind of convinced them all they're following them, and this guy's just talking about how Strom can do anything, and how he fought lions. These are really cool looking panels, though.
They are. Yeah, I like all the instruments. The little globe. A globe's interesting to see. That it also makes you wonder about just this world. So like there must have been people. So there must have been like a Galileo that theorized that the world was round, first of all, and also to have like the land masses be like recorded, so this isn't quite like Stone Age or Bronze Age era rather, but it's like Renaissance, right?
Yeah,
which I guess makes sense, based on like Julius and like what we know of like Pal Nu right now.
Sure. Yeah, this is the first that I can think of. It's the first example of seeing more advanced stuff.
Right.
Even and he's putting it in the background. You can almost miss it, right? He's not beating you over the head with look how advanced these people in this city state are. Look at this panel here with the moon. And there's all these, descriptions about things. As we know, the moon plays a part later on in the series.
That's true. Good point.
But I don't know that I ever remembered this being, and probably the first time I read it, just skipped right over it. But really fascinating to see. And Cerebus mentions, does he do it here? No, he does it a page or two later. He talks about how the books have to deal with the sun and the stars and the moon, but nothing of use, So he doesn't maybe understand science in that way, but clearly somebody else in this world does.
Right.
Kind of fascinating.
Yeah, that is like a little subtle thing too about that, like Cerebus does use the like elements to like, to like navigate, but like, like not in this precise way,
Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Whoever owned this collection seems to have had a bizarre interest in stars and the sun and the moon. But he just refers to it as drivel, and he's looking for, previous attempts at conquering Pal Nu. He's hoping that maybe there's something, some information they can glean, some sort of secrets they can find.
Right. Yeah. And then it switches to meanwhile.
Meanwhile in Pal Nu and Lord Julius is he summoned Lord Gorse.
These names are
these names are great. And so they're talking about Fluroc being conquered, and And Julius lets this guy know that he's putting him in charge of the military, basically the counterattack.
Mm-hmm. Right. And right. So this is like a new character.
Yeah.
I've not seen him before.
Yeah, new guy. And this page all of a sudden feels like Cerebus from a couple of issues ago, right?
Yeah, I feel like this was like a slight half step back, like
Yeah.
art. Like there is like a sloppiness to it that hasn't been there in the last few issues, where he really seemed to be like firing on all cylinders. I mean, there's still like the saving grace of the way that he spots like the blacks and like uses like the composition, but I mean, it's like a minor quibble that his inking's like not up to what it was, but
you're right. Well, especially compared to the previous page, which looks fucking great, right? I mean, so
yeah.
and also his Lord Julius is a little off model.
Yeah.
But not unforgivably so.
Space just
yeah.
a
little wonky. Yeah, so this guy's pretty stunned. He's been put in charge. Clearly, Julius is letting this. This guy's gonna die. That's what Julius is thinking. I'll put this guy in charge, and I'll basically hide myself. I had hoped to lead our new army against these godless heathens, but there's last minute packing to be done. Alas.
Right.
Yeah. All of the Julius stuff here is pretty good. He's his full on Groucho dialogue is fantastic.
Yeah. But also, like he's really developing the character like beyond that too, like really just making him into like the master manipulator that he is. It's like you can it's just it's like not just all jokes. Like there's like he's actually talking about stuff that happens in the story.
Yeah, for sure. And this guy Gorse, he says, I'm going to raise an army, defeat these guys, rally the merchant class to my side, topple the bureaucracy, try Lord Julius in public for high treason, and seize the reins of power. So we'll see if that happens.
I really like this page. Again, just going full on like with the shadows and that like top like close up of the German guy with the eye patch on the right. Second panel. That's just such a great portrait, and like that whole page, like that's the page I would want to shoot.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Did my audio get weird on the side?
Yeah, sound fine.
Huh. Weird. Okay. Good. So Cerebus goes and finds I've already forgotten this guy's name again.
Dr. Strangelove. No, like what's his name? I forgot too. We're a professional outfit.
I know, right? But this is the guy who's leading the what are they called? The Tegitans.
Yeah, I can't pronounce it either.
Yeah. This is the guy who's kind of figured this out. So Cerebus says he's found one book that has one little thing in it, a passage in one book, nothing more. And this guy is pointing out he's made an error in judgment. He thought this city actually had money, and they don't. So they haven't really gotten any sort of loot from this thing to help them, hire more soldiers or continue on their conquest.
Yeah.
But boy, you're right. What a beautiful page.
Yeah, it's so good. It's just all about the lighting, just studying the Eisner and, definitely probably Steranko too. It's like really like paid off. Even that like fourth panel of Cerebus handing the book to him,
Yeah.
with that that stipple tone, like across the book. It's really smart. I mean, he's really like doing interesting things with the black and white art.
Yeah, he is. And yeah, he's really sophisticated with these tones, right? Because he's not even using line work to definition. They're just,
Yeah.
Like the panel you pointed out up top with the guy with the eye patch. The background, his shadow behind him, is just a loose shape.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it does.
And it's better with the tone because his like hatching isn't that, isn't up to snuff.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So now they're informed that there's a group of merchants outside from somewhere, and foreign merchants, and so Cerebus is going to go see what they have to say. I'm not really sure what's going on in this tall vertical panel. Are you? It looks like Cerebus there. I see Cerebus's ears and the big guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in front, but you're right. It is, or no, like he's in back. You can see his ears. Right, they're just walking outside of the castle walls, right, or like the city walls. And yeah, it's a weird establishing shot, but I guess he just had to have one panel to like, show, what was going on in the background, right?
Yeah.
And, like all the bodies, but it is, I think, because it's like so cramped and skinny, it's a little unreadable.
Yeah, could have used a little more light. As much as I like it when he goes dark. The bottom here with these bodies, the blood, we get some of that patented Dave Sim blood we don't get very often.
It's pretty grim.
Yeah. So they get up on the whatever this is called up at the top of the city, the battlements, and they look down and kind of see what these guys are, what they have. They brought furs and jewelry. And so Cerebus lets them know about the plague. Cerebus very handily speaks their language. And he lets them know that there was a plague. That's why all these people are dead, not that they just got slaughtered.
Right.
So Cerebus has the idea he's going to basically try to get all of the stuff they've brought. And that might make up for some of the lack of riches in the city, which seems makes sense plot wise, but doesn't really make sense in terms of scale. Right? These guys have brought a little bit of stuff to trade, and that's going to be equal to what an entire city would have had. I like this panel at the top here with all the merchants in silhouette.
Yeah, it is well done. He's like using the textures in a good way to show the fields and everything, and and just having them in silhouette too is smart as a way to show that it's nighttime.
And so they're going to go greet them, and Cerebus inquires about Karl, who was the military champion of Fluroc. Who Cerebus captured last issue. And this guy lets them know that, they had, he tried to escape in this sort of just bizarre manner of stuff he was able to get through with just his body, but they had 40 of their best men standing by, so they subdued him in a matter of hours. I assume this is leading to a confrontation with Karl at some point, but we'll see. And then so Cerebus greets these sort of this foppish merchant and his armed guards. I really like this page a lot too.
Yeah, same. And that Cerebus is wearing robes as well. Again, foreshadowing for things to come.
Yes. And him putting on this sort of welcoming them, and this facial expression down here at the bottom is great.
And then just all the dead
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's just passing himself off as some, kind of merchant, I guess. And yeah, and he says, "I'm the only one left who speaks your language. So if you want to do anything, you're gonna have to talk to me." And the guy says, "Well, we've come such a long way." Then there's a scene of this random soldier kind of stumbling onto what's happening, and Cerebus, who I just realized is supposed to be Cerebus, which is really stupid. I did not realize that in the first page. No, I had no idea. Told you the dialect gets me. So anyway, that's embarrassing. So to get rid of the guy, Cerebus just knocks him out.
Right. Yeah, that's an odd panel too. The bottom panel of the left-hand page.
Yes.
Just it just looks like Cerebus's hand is just coming out of his crotch.
Yes.
Just it's an odd angle.
Yeah, looks like the alien bursting from his chest or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because of the blood. Good point.
Yeah. So yeah, this to me is sort of an unnecessary complication. Maybe he just had some filler he needed to do, but so now he has to kind of convince the Tagitians that
Tagitans.
Yeah, he has to justify this beating of one of their guys, which he does, seems with little effort, and then turns his attention to the merchant. Here's the image from the cover,
right?
And Cerebus is ready to deal with them.
Yeah. It is the same image, so he just made a collage for the cover.
Yeah, he did the same for the previous page when he's punching the guy in the stomach is also from that.
Right.
So now he's going to talk to this merchant, and he's got himself a little dish of blood next to him, and he puts it on the guy's neck and kind of starts to convince him that he's come down with the plague.
Yeah. Always a striking, horrible thing.
Yes.
When bloody finger touches you.
Yeah, right. And this great panel of fear here. It's very Bernie Wrightson.
Oh yeah, that's a good call. That's something out of the Warren stuff, but not as crisp. But
no.
But totally inspired by that.
Yeah, and Cerebus is interested in the various stuff here. He mentions this the owl, whatever this bauble is. So I'm guessing we're gonna have another bauble of import. The owl gets mentioned a couple times. But then he gets into this sequence here of these two, I think it's 2 pages that are 16 panels.
Yeah, it's a spread.
Yeah, and in the printed comic, as Carl's holding up, they're actually next to each other, which is a little more impressive.
Yeah.
So you get 32 panels on the spread.
Yeah, it looks.
Lots of great Cerebus expressions intermixed with going back and forth between him and the merchant becoming increasingly freaked out about having the plague, and Cerebus just rips him off. He says he has this antidote and eventually bargains him down to where he has every single thing the guy has. And the golden owl gets mentioned again at the end here. Great panel of him holding all the jewels here.
Yeah, it's well done. I really like this 2-page spread. It's like very effective storytelling. I feel like this is like, what Sim does best.
Mhm.
When he's doing like little panels. I'm trying to think of like what the precedent is for, like, who also did stuff like this like around the time. So,
That's a good question. I don't know. And also, I mean, and if somebody was doing this, who nobody would have been doing it dialogue driven like this, right? I mean,
yeah, it's all propelled by that.
yeah.
Talking.
Yeah, he's already better at this kind of storytelling than pretty much anybody else
Yeah.
in comics. I don't even know if anybody else was attempting stuff like this.
Yeah, I think. I mean, like maybe Eisner, but maybe not. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Jeez.
and not as well if he was.
Right. I'm sure someone will school us in the notes.
Yeah, I hope so. I would love more context. This is, I mean, 1980. We're really in. It's the Wild West. I mean, Raw is coming.
Right.
And right after that, we'll get Weirdo and Love and Rockets within the next couple of years. I mean, so
right.
But Sim has taken this genre book and he's already pushing it in directions, that it'll end up in.
Yeah, and like more, like other like artier underground comics will, do like similar stuff, but like not quite. I mean, because like that's the thing about him is that he always has like that one foot like in the Marvel and DC world.
Yes. Yeah, we'll get to it eventually. I was actually just reading a quick little review of Melmoth, written by Bob Fiore in the Journal, and it's just a few paragraphs, maybe half a page, but he speaks to exactly what you're saying. This sort of, he really occupies this middle ground of maybe being too commercial for a lot of the alternative people, but not being commercial enough for the Marvel or DC people. He really he really staked out his own territory. And I guess ElfQuest held that same territory too, but they were never as ambitious in terms of their overall. I mean, she's a wonderful cartoonist. Wendy Peeney's a wonderful cartoonist, but they were never as ambitious in terms of their like Baroque storytelling and
sure, and like
politics and the philosophy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and just even like aesthetically, like the way that the panels were composed and like the lettering, it is all pretty standard. Whereas Sim is trying stuff.
Yeah, he really is. And this next page is a beautiful page again. Lots of blacks in this issue, and boy, he shines when he has a lot of black to play with.
Yeah, it really is masterful. It's just such a great like design concept. It just really makes everything look solid.
Yeah, so he's a few hours later, he's basically gotten every single thing this guy has, and he even wants the helmets of the mercenaries, which the mercenaries don't like, but the merchant basically says, "I can breathe on you," and they hand him over to Cerebus.
That's a lot to carry.
It's a lot to carry, right? But every little bit helps, right? If you need some loot.
Sure.
So so those guys leave, and they want to talk to Cerebus, these Tigitans, and he basically tells them his version of what he just did to all these merchants, about how he was gonna stick it in your ear, pansy breath, and Cerebus will stuff them up your right nostril, and these barbarians are eating it up.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that was the funny thing from this issue too, is that Cerebus had to dumb down like his own, especially talking to Grouse. And
yes, I love this. The sound effects in the background of this panel here, the laughing sound effects.
Yeah, right. like the way that the letters go kind of up and down like that.
Mhm.
It's a nice touch.
Yeah, kind of the Joker laughing, stuff would have been a Neil Adams, but here it's used for people actually laughing at something, like a crowd laughing.
Right.
Really effective.
And then like having, right nostril, they're like repeating like the punchline, like
yeah,
sound effects.
Yeah, it's really clever. And he ends on this splash page silhouette of Cerebus talking to them, and they're enjoying Cerebus's version of the story, and Cerebus is thinking he had originally thought Gudra a genius for his ability to unite these barbarians. Perhaps it was not as difficult as it appeared at first glance, and perhaps in the near future ... there might be room for another Goth of Thunder in this army.
Right.
So he's thinking he might be able to do some.
He's ambitious.
Yeah, his own political maneuvering.
Yeah. Right. Again, I think it is like Julius that kind of planted that, seed, and it's very clever of Dave to be like doing that,
Mm-hmm. All right, we get this ad page that we've seen now for several issues. The Comic Shop and Real World.
Right.
We get a smaller. Sorry, go ahead, Carl.
Well, I was going to say this is shocking because this looks like it was drawn by Sim, and not Michael Buber.
Yeah.
And I think it's different because it's just Palnu, but like all of the names, like I can't recall them being on like the older map, right?
Yeah, I can't either. Though I will admit I didn't study it very closely.
Sure. Yeah, because I just don't see Ocean Sea.
Ocean Sea, yeah. This one seems a little more useful just because he's actually engaging in sort of territorial combat now. It makes sense to kind of try to reference where things are in relation to each other. Though I'll admit I don't really know what's going on in this movie.
Yeah, I mean it is unclear, like within like the story, like where things are geographically,
Yeah. Here's Fluroc kind of right in the middle, so I guess that's all you kind of need to know.
Right.
But
and
Palnu's down here.
Right. So they're advancing south.
Yes, they're advancing south. And then the ad for Now and Then has the poster.
Yes. Very cool. Yeah, the old standby Now and Then.
Yes.
I forget, like, do they still exist? Like, do you know anything about them?
I don't think so.
Okay.
That's a good question, though. But unfortunately.
We can just look it up. I'll look it up real quick.
Yeah, please do. Still selling artwork. And he has back issues and subscriptions available. $19 for a year. Not that it's a bad deal, but that's a substantial amount of money to lay out in 1980.
Mm-hmm. Harry Creamer died in 2002. Doesn't say. Doesn't say on the Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Closed. I think it closed in 2022. Is that what I'm seeing?
Oh wow.
Unclear.
That's
anyway.
Pretty good lifespan either way. I don't know how big Kitchener is.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty small town.
Yeah. But isn't it? It's across the water from Detroit, right? Aren't they pretty close?
Yeah. They are. So. Yeah, I think it's just like right over the bridge.
Yeah. All right, then we get to the letters, and this is a pretty interesting letters page.
It is, yeah,
at least a couple of them, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so he comes off the top rope, right? The very first letter is this form letter from Jim Shooter of Cadence Publishing, which is the company that owned Marvel. And, basically talking about yeah, go ahead, Carl.
No, it's just interesting that that's what Dave chose to print as like the essay. I mean, like as like the address. It's like Cadence Publishing and like not Marvel. I feel like like show that Marvel is owned by this corporation now.
Yes.
That I mean, and that's like the gist of the letter. Go ahead.
Oh, just recently the copyright laws were changed to provide more protection for artists and writers who are the sole creators of work. But all this is to say Marvel still owns everything. It's kind of what he's saying. And he says that our policies of returning artwork, paying reprint money, and providing insurance are exactly the same as before. And I'm not sure what their insurance policies were back then. I think you probably had to have a certain amount of work from them to qualify. Probably just a regular freelancer wouldn't. You'd have to have a steady gig.
That is interesting. I'd be curious to know what like qualified you to get insurance from them at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I certainly don't know how mainstream comics works now, but back in the 80s, people would sign contracts pretty regularly with these companies. At least the name artists and writers would, and it would guarantee them a certain amount of work. I think when Kirby went to DC in the early 70s, it was for 100 pages a month or something like that. So, something absurd, but and of course that sounds like awful, but it also was a certain amount of income he was making too. He was, that was guaranteed to get a certain amount of money that
right
he was going to get each month.
Did he get benefits too back then?
I really don't know. He should have, because I believe he was the editor of his books.
Yeah, he did everything.
So I would hope he did. And then, of course, he left DC a few years later, went back to Marvel. But I think the whole reason he went into the animation business in the late 70s was to have benefits and, not have to hustle. He just worked a 9 to 5 coming up with designs for cartoons. It was probably the easiest work he ever had in his life, I would imagine. Yeah. And why so many cartoonists were working here at the same time. He was working with Gil Kane and Alex Toth. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Then Dave's quasi-racist response as a. Oh yeah.
Yes.
But it is to an extent. It was. You were signing over like your soul to them, especially
For
like,
sure.
I guess we'll get to that in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. They follow up this letter from Jim Shooter with a letter from Richard and Wendy Peeney. The closest analog there is to Cerebus is ElfQuest.
Right.
In terms of the timing and the space they occupy. And they're basically kind of tisking Dave, wagging their finger, saying, Marvel, the corporate giant, is still made up of at least some folks who are real and caring, and it's they who feel the barbs most and deserve it least. Nowadays, this would be called corporate bootlicking, and I'm not saying that they weren't coming. They may have been coming from a cordial and nice place. But it is worth pointing out that in a few years, in 1985, Marvel will publish ElfQuest.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying there's a 1-to-1. I mean, that's a 5-year difference, but clearly Richard and Wendy Peeney had a much more agreeable stance on Marvel's corporate policies than Sim did.
Yeah, and I mean, I wonder if that was the goal for them all along. With like ElfQuest, that they didn't like. Self-publishing wasn't as dogmatic to them as it is to Dave.
Probably, yeah, because I mean, they not only had the Marvel book, which ran for I think 60 issues or so. I mean, I'm sure it sold very well, and then they also put out those collections through. I forget which company put out the color collections that were in libraries everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. 'Cause it wasn't Epic; it was like a different publisher.
No, yeah, it was somebody in the book trade. And there's even a couple of volumes of ElfQuest Companion that Fantagraphics published. So they weren't afraid to kind of spread out with other people.
Right.
And yeah, I don't really think they got back into self-publishing in a big way until the early 90s again, right? Or I mean, I guess Warp was around for a long time, but I feel like in the early 90s they had a real surge again of multiple titles and really trying to push ElfQuest as a franchise. But anyway, they were less militant than Dave, I guess is the point.
Yeah, right. His response, pot shots.
Heaven forbid.
Yeah, and then I guess with the other letters, there's some from some nerds.
Yeah. Yeah, this response to this to the guy selling the t-shirts, even though it doesn't make it clear here. I finally figured out what's wrong with comics. All of the groupies are celibate males. Irony alert. Driving with one headlight out. If I had known that 4 years ago, I would have enrolled in a plumbing course. At least from what I've heard, plumber groupies are female.
Right. Yeah,
so,
I know.
But
on there. Yeah. Some insecurity. Yeah. And yeah, and then I thought that was funny and kind of like an obvious way. But like, is that a photo of these guys? It is, right?
It is. It is.
And okay.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, he says David Selnow is the guy who's selling the shirts. And he's the one who wrote this Aardvark's anomalous letter, even though it doesn't have his name on it. And Selnow apparently is the guy dressed up as Cerebus up here.
It's great though that that kind of fandom has already sprung up, after 18 issues.
Yeah, pretty impressive. This is quite a photo though.
Yeah, like these guys look like they're 30s.
Yes.
Not college men, but I guess that's just evolution.
That's right. Yeah, also just a quick mention and we'll get to his note, but he's mentioning that the biggest problem we face now is the fact that no one seems to know that we're monthly and available from Seagate distributors.
Yeah, I had a note about that too.
Yeah.
That's like a very relatable early frustration, is just making sure that you're mentioned in these important places, but also just like carving out like a space for you in this, heavy Marvel and DC dominated industry.
Yes.
And the early days of the direct market as well.
For sure. Yeah. And I don't know what kind of, if any, I don't know what kind of catalog Seagate was sending to people. So who knows what it may have just been lines of type on a page, with a checkbox. He mentions here that the Comic Reader refusing to list Cerebus, ElfQuest, and others in its top 100 specialty shop list.
Yeah.
And this would have been a time where there were not 100 monthly titles, So,
right.
So I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, so it is a weird omission for them to do that, or it's like a prejudice. I think like
it is.
Yeah,
and I can't quite remember when Amazing Heroes starts being published by Fantagraphics. Amazing Heroes was essentially started to generate income for Fantagraphics, and
Yeah.
they're kind of, they weren't trying to be dicks about it, but they pretty much were like, we're just going to annihilate the comic reader and take their spot as the superhero magazine,
Yeah.
which they did in short order. You know, comic reader was on its last legs. So the comic reader really did. I don't know what their circulation was, but they filled a niche of people who wanted news about upcoming comics and superhero comics.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, the big difference is that Amazing Heroes would actually list stuff like Cerebus and ElfQuest,
Right.
and
Yeah.
covered a slightly, at least, broader range. They covered the independents in a way that the comic reader. I don't know if you've ever run across any of these issues.
No, I haven't. Yeah, it's new to me actually. I've never seen.
It ran for quite a while, and I want to say maybe Paul Levitz was involved with it before he went to work for DC.
Really? Wow. Okay.
But they're really in the middle. They do not look as professional as the Comics Journal or Comics Buyer's Guide, and they're better than a fanzine. They're almost on this kind of rough paper, color cover. All the rest is like typewriter type inside. They
Wow.
it
So
looks
they're
like,
journals.
yeah, it looks like it's from the 70s. And so I would imagine it was probably run by superhero nerds who weren't really open to something like Cerebus or ElfQuest.
Yeah.
But it's a shame they couldn't even get a mention on a top 100 list.
Right.
They're probably listing like Archie and Betty and Veronica, but they're not listing, Cerebus. So
Right.
I might have to go try to track one of those down.
Yeah. You don't have any?
I have a couple tucked away.
Okay.
I don't have very many of them. It's frankly not an interesting magazine, so it's never been high on my priority list. But
when did the Buyer's Guide start publishing? Was it after Amazing Heroes?
No. The Buyer's Guide. I mean, he's been already mentioned. They've been running some of his Diamondback stuff in Amazing Heroes, or not. I'm sorry, in the Comics Buyer's Guide. They've been running the Diamondback stuff. So the Buyer's Guide was already it was the 800-pound gorilla when the journal started.
Okay.
The opening issue of the Comics Journal, Gary's editorial on the cover is him attacking Alan Light, who was the publisher of the Comics Buyer's Guide.
Okay.
Because they were kind of, in Gary's argument, I guess other people may have different versions, but in his argument, Alan Light was basically a bully and tried to crush all competition, and because the Buyer's Guide ran on ads, and so he wanted all of the ad revenue for himself. Okay. I'm sure Alan Light would tell a different story. Maybe others would too, but that was Gary's version. And they essentially took over the Nostalgia Journal from guys who were like the last guys who had held out competing with Alan Light.
I see. Wow. Damn.
So, they took over the Nostalgia Journal for no money. It was
just spite.
We'll keep this going if you send us your subscriber list. And they did. That's it was pure spite on both parties' sides. So
wow, incredible.
Anyway, this is a show about Cerebus, so I'll quit ranting about the journal.
No, it's interesting.
That's for later days. But yeah, Sim does say, I admit it, I do take pot shots from the bushes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sets it up for like the note. Like in this issue too, where he does elaborate more on the relationship of Marvel to the artists working for them, and how everyone kind of sees it differently. And I don't know. I mean, like, what else did you get from this note?
Actually, what I got, well, I mean, it's clear that he's already thinking about his own work, but I will say he was a little more I guess forgiving of what other people do. I have to admit that I was rather lukewarm on the whole issue of the work made for hire contract until it came time for me to sign one of them. But he
Hmm.
says, I wouldn't for a minute dump on anyone who would.
Right.
Or in fact dump on anyone working in the offices or devoting their lives to these companies. Um, I don't know if he would have said the same thing 15 years later.
Yeah, because he's still. It's like seems like he's building friendships with like a lot of the other professionals. So
Yeah,
like a
and he
little.
does do work for Marvel
He does. Right. Yeah.
pretty soon after, right?
Right. Yeah. And Epic Illustrated. Right.
Yeah, in Epic. Archie Goodwin. I mean, he still owns his work that he does,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. He does
but he's
take.
not. He isn't quite saying anyone who works for anybody else is a complete moron, which is what he'll basically say later.
Yeah. Issue after issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Very interesting. And I mean, I was saying before we started that this seems like a seminal issue, like because of that, because
Mm-hmm.
he really does become like a champion for uh, artist rights.
Yeah, he's mentioning Steve Gerber a couple times,
Hmm.
and basically alluding to the fact that he got screwed out of Howard the Duck. I mean, that depends on your version of events, obviously.
Yeah.
Um, um, and
I mean, according to that Sean Howe book, it really does seem like
it's the thing of I'm on the side of the artists and the writers, obviously, in all circumstances.
hmm
Um, but it's also pretty hard to argue that Steve Gerber didn't know what he was getting into either at this point. They're not Siegel and Schuster, it's 40 years later.
yeah,
They kind of, I mean, Siegel and Schuster, that's the original sin of American comics, right?
right,
Everything comes from their blood.
right,
Um, but that said, of course, think I do think Gerber got screwed, though. It's funny though that Gerber is always positioned as the sole creator of Howard the Duck, and that is not true. And Gerber himself never really gave credit to the artists who.
yeah. Steve Englehart, right?
It's Val Merrick, I
Oh yeah,
think.
Velma Merrick. Okay.
Yeah, and can't remember who the inker was, but anyway, those guys are technically the co-creators of the character, and they were even left out of the lawsuit between Gerber and Marvel. So
Oh wow.
um, Gerber's problematic in his own way, as far as I'm concerned, for that kind of omission.
Sure.
Um,
Uh,
but I would rather all of them have a piece or the whole Howard the Duck than Marvel, obviously.
yeah.
Um,
Is Gerber still around? Is he still alive?
no, he passed away
Okay.
a while ago. And also just a brief mention of this, and he doesn't expound on it at all. I also understand and respect all the members of the guild who are back working for Marvel and DC despite the conditions that exist. And yeah, the guild was an attempt to create a union in comics in the late 70s,
Hmm.
which failed, as all other efforts have. Um,
Yeah.
and it's too bad just in general, because it would have been nice for workers in comics to have some sort of protections.
Yeah.
But they tried to form it kind of the worst time. Everyone thought that comics were on the way out. They were on death's door. If
Right.
they had been able to if they'd been able to negotiate with Marvel and DC, even basic recognition of their organization,
Hmm.
then in the 80s, when the money starts flowing big time, that would have raised a lot of boats, right? It wouldn't have just been John Byrne and a few other guys making hundreds of thousands of dollars. It could have meant that all the people working on these comics would have benefited from it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It was such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, it was. And of course, there were a lot of people who were in the quote unquote creative community who worked against it.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah. They're afraid that everyone would get fired and but replaced with who? I mean, it's like they
that's
didn't
the,
understand like their own value. Which is always the case when it comes to trying to organize.
that's very true. Yeah, because we're only a few years away from guys who got big on Marvel and DC going to independent companies and having books. I mean, things like Dreadstar or Mike Grell's Star Slayer, that kind of stuff. I mean, those books only existed because those guys got big at Marvel and DC.
Right. American Flag.
American Flag. Yeah. Actually, creator name above the title type stuff.
Right.
Would have been nice if
there was a union there was a SAG.
Yeah, take advantage of that. But that's another issue. So,
but
anyway, but Sim was clearly aware of this stuff and was clearly informing his opinions
going on. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, I mean, this Aardvark comment becomes a nice little safe space for a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, he says he'd be interested on any opinions. Any opinions on this from our readers? We'll print the best ones. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing if he gets any comments.
Yeah, me too. And I'm looking forward to when these videos just become 90% about Aardvark comment.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. It'll be 20 pages of somebody drinking a cup of coffee, and then we get to 10 pages of arguing in the
yeah. Can't wait.
Yep.
Yeah. And then stooling on the back.
Yep. Stooling on the back, the hologram ad, which we've seen a bunch of times. So all right, I think that's it.
That's it. All right. Thanks everyone who made it this far.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll see you for number 19.
Day 19.